Hello from Sacred Space at Titania's Realm. It's 12:28 p.m. on the 23rd of September 2021. As you can see, I'm still fighting the good fight. I'm utterly exhausted. Utterly exhausted. I had about 5 hours sleep this morning. After coming home from dancing, I couldn't sleep, which often happens because I reach the point where you're beyond exhaustion, so you sort of get kind of adrenal overload or endorphins or something. But anyway, I had a lovely night last night. I felt very nurtured and protected, whether that was deliberately or whether it was just serendipitous, I'm not sure, but I had a good night. There was one young woman that was stomping on my feet 3 times. She stomped on me. So the first could have been by accident, the second could have been by accident, but after the third one I crunched her one back, so that was the end of that. Drunk people or substance affected people. I think she was off her head, that one, quite frankly. But anyway, in spite of that little annoyance, I had a wonderful time, and it was very crowded. It was very quiet when I arrived. I didn't even have to queue. There was no queue. It was highly unusual actually for that time of the night, because I arrived just on 11. I arrived a bit early. Got there about 10:30. So, but anyway, no queue. So I went in, ordered a drink, and waited. There was another band just finishing up, and then I waited for my favourite band, Alter Egos, to set up, and then the dancing happened. It was mostly young people in their early 20s. So I commented to the young Māori security guard, who was a very nice young man. I said, I'm the oldest one here. It seems to be mostly young people tonight. It doesn't bother me, whether I'm out with oldies or young people, it doesn't bother me. But just observed that it was very, very busy. Around about midnight, it was all young people. And he said, the universities are on a break, so we're getting all the university students. So that makes sense. Anyway, there were a few of them that were a bit entitled and a bit pretentious, like the young chickie babe that kept stomping on my foot, right? So, you know it's deliberate because they kind of give you a side eye and then crunch on you again. So anyway, that was that. I did mention it to the security guard. I said, there's always one. I said, but don't worry, I handled it. He kind of had to chuckle to himself too. Because I'm an old lady now, but I'm intrepid, I might have health issues and I might be failing, but I intrepidly keep dancing my dance and putting myself out in the world, and I'm determined. I'm not going to be bullied or harassed or vilified or chased out of my normal human rights and my normal activities, So, anyway, I had a lovely time. One young man came up to me because I had my fan. It used to be much colder in the Brooklyn Standard, but they had air conditioning on, but it was not as cold as it used to be. But I after a few hours of dancing, I was getting hotter and hotter. I turned to the security guard and I said, where's the sweet spot? And he went, what? I went, the air conditioning. I said, even my fan's not helping me now. He said, I'm standing in it. I went, I'm going to block your sweet spot then for a little while, if you don't mind. I said, I'm really hot. So I stood behind him and cooled down a bit, and then, didn't block it too long. He's got to work there. He needs the sweet spot. He needs to cool. He needs the coolness, He said, the best sweet spot in the whole club is just as you're coming up or down the stairs right near the front door. And I laughed. I said, that's That's not where the sweet spot should be. It's all blowing out of the club. It should be inside the club. I said, I remember it being a lot cooler in here in summer. You know, the air conditioning used to be a lot more powerful. But no, it's all being blown out the front door. And how I know this, he was completely right. When I left the club at 2 and I was crawling up the stairs because I could hardly walk after all my dancing. About 3/4 of the way up the stairs, I found the sweet spot, and I was like, I stopped and I paused and I went, ooh, because it was so good. It was so good. And of course, it's going to get hotter now with summer, so yeah, makes it a bit hard when you're jumping around for hours. But yeah, it was good. It was good. Yeah, so some young man who saw me fanning myself just randomly comes up and goes, fan me. Like the entitledness, not, oh please, I'm a bit hot, you know, you look so lovely, could you please fan me? No, fan me like I'm some dog. So I looked at him and went, nope. He was like, why not? And I went, it's my fan, I don't want to fan you. I was like, what? It just doesn't occur to them that there might have been a nicer way of, you know, going about things, not set my teeth on edge. So anyway, I did eventually sort of fan myself, but he was getting the draft from it anyway. And then I looked at him and I went, you happy now? I went, oh yes, thank you. I just deliberately held it a little bit away from him just to stir him up, because it's like, don't come up to some stranger you've never met, some strange woman, and order her around like she's some dog, right? Ooh, the rudeness, the entitledness. But anyway, it was kind of funny. And then another young man who had a very French Moroccan sounding accent. He could have been Algerian, he could have been Tunisian, I don't know, but he had an accent. Comes up to me too, quite nice looking younger man. He says, fan me too. I went, what? And the young Māori guard, security guard, who by now had observed how I play with him and my sense of humour and knows that I deliberately act obtuse if they're annoying. He was like chuckling to him, so I could see him thinking, oh, this is going to go bad for him, isn't it? So I was like, oh, you want me to fan you, do you, darling? Oh, yes, he says, yes, fan me. And I said, oh, we'll see about that. Anyway, he pulled his shirt up, exposing his whole bare belly, you know. And then so I barely looked at him. I'm really not interested. I'm not interested in male sexuality anymore. I'm too old and I'm too tired and I'm past the point of no return, I think. Because I'm looking at him, you are actually quite a nice looking man. You've got a nice physique. There's nothing wrong with you. I thought to myself, it's not you, it's me. Anyway, because he'd made the effort to pull his shirt up and was writhing behind like this. Don't mind me, I've got no bra on. I'm chillaxing today. But he was writhing like this, you know, bare chested, bare belly, and even the security guard's like. So I got my fan and I just very lightly went flick, but only one flick of fanning him, as if I really couldn't be bothered. And he was like, is that all I get? And I was like, yes, it's not in my job description to fan you. And he just looked at me and laughed. So anyway, he pulls his shirt down and then he bends over in front of me and he's like jiggling in front of me and he pokes his bottom at me. He had a very nice, you know, younger man's bottom. I reckon that guy was about 35, 30, probably my daughter's age, you know. So he's pushing his bottom into me, and so I look at the young Māori security guard. He was greatly amused. He was just watching everything I did, like greatly amused, you know, because I am funny at times. And so this bottom's being directed at me, and I look down and I go, what is this? And I look at the security guard. He looks at me and goes, starts laughing. And so this young handsome Moroccan or whoever he was, what national, I don't know what, he had a very unusual accent. He's still gyrating his bottom. I said, why are you showing me your bottom? And I look at the Māori guy because I knew he'd get the joke, and I went, it's tapu. And he went, oh my God, yes it is. He's like, we're laughing. it's actually deeply offensive to show someone your bottom in certain cultures. So anyway, and I'm just making fun of it because I couldn't care less, really. I just thought it was hilarious. There's a, he goes, yes, it is. It's tapu. And he just started giggling. So anyway, so then the young man stopped gyrating his bottom at me and went, I just want to dance. And I went, yes, dancing is perfectly acceptable and good for the soul. He just looked at me and ran away. So I thought, oh, there you go. There you go. I ruined another opportunity to have a wild night of passion with an ardent young lover. And did I not say that I was going to be a little bit flirtatious when I went out last night? Well, I changed my mind, didn't I? I changed my mind. I can't be bothered. But it was hilarious though. Oh, and there was another young man. He looked like he was at university. He was a very nerdy intellectual type, and he had glasses like me. And but he would have been probably in his mid-20s, and they're just so condescending when they see this old lady dancing in front of the rock bands, right? Like, I don't have a right to take up space. Like, I shouldn't exist. Like, old people should just be put in a concentration camp and made to die. They really have that mentality, I think. So he looked at me like this and then went, like, it was just so obnoxious. So I didn't know from Adam, and so I went, what? Like, pretending to be more outraged than I really was, because I just thought, oh, you little pretentious little wanker. So anyway, I just went, what? And he just looked at me and went, just because. And I went, oh, really? Really? And then he sort of looked at me astonished and then took off with his friends. So it's just so bizarre, you know. It really is bizarre. The young ones, I have realised, do not want to be surrounded by the old, the vulnerable. They perceive us to be vulnerable. And mind you, I looked beautiful last night because I had full makeup, full regalia, my jewellery, flower in my hair, my lovely Deify t-shirt, my skirt, my boots, my underbust. I had all my lovely sterling silver charm necklaces, and I layered it with three necklaces actually. And I did have earrings in, but they broke which reminds me, I have to go and look for my Viking ship. Broke my Viking ship earrings. One fell off as I got to the car, and I hadn't realised, and as I was driving there I thought, oh, I'm missing an earring. So anyway, but yes, I had my Viking ship earrings, and I looked lovely, but I took the I lost the earring, so I took the earring off, the other earring, and but I felt good. Oh yes, there it is. Oh, there you go. Thank you, Thor and Odin, for returning my Viking ship earrings back to me, because I do love them. So anyway, and thank you to St. Anthony, even though I'm Jewish. I didn't even ask him because I knew it was there. But I didn't bother him with that. I knew where it would be, beside my car. There it is. Oh, in focus. Anyway, I can remake those earrings. I'll make them better this time, because I noticed they were a bit not hanging right and a bit wonky, and I fiddled with them before I went out, so that's why it fell off. So I'll remake those today or tomorrow or whenever I feel like it. But yes, anyway, so I was minus my earrings last night. But anyway, I went to the loo, and as I came out of the loo, some man came out of the store next to me, which I was a bit horrified. And I was standing putting lipstick on, and I heard another man, I don't know if he was security or one of the other customers, say to him, what are you doing in the women's toilets? Do you want to get kicked out? And I heard this man reply, oh yeah, like he didn't even care. And I was feeling a bit cranky about that. But then I thought, well, with all my bladder problems that I've had for years now, and it's getting a bit problematic, a bit frightening. Who am I to judge? He might have bladder problems too and couldn't wait any more in the queue for the men's toilets. Anyway, so I'm glad I didn't yell at him, because it helps to just be a little bit tolerant now. We're all ill as a society. We're all, right across the world, we're all manifesting serious health problems. So you don't know if someone's being an absolute, just an arrogant prick, which I think he might have been the way he replied, or if he just didn't care, because when you got to go, man. So anyway, so I was sort of pondering that for a brief moment, redoing my lipstick, and a young woman came in and took one look at me. She was going to the loos, and I said, keep an eye on that loo. I said, it's probably messy, a man's just been in there. She went, oh really? And I went, yeah, And but anyway, she looked at me, she said, you look so lovely, I love your outfit. And I said, oh thank you, that's a really lovely compliment. And I thought, yes, people are so generous and sweet and kind when you're out, very often people are, by and large, very sweet, especially if they've had a few drinks. But she was a beautiful young girl, and I thought that was so lovely of her to be so sweet. So anyway, so I came out of the ladies' toilet and I looked straight ahead to where the men's toilet was, and there were 2 or 3 men lined up outside the men's looking at me all sheepishly, because they would have heard, the man saw the other man come out and had him be told off by someone. Because the toilets there, the men's and the women's, are actually quite close together, so I suppose he just thought, oh well, bugger it, it's quicker to go in there, So anyway, but that was good that somebody pulled him up on it, because it is creepy when a woman's sitting on the loo, in a public loo in a club or a space, and there's a man next to you. Like, I do find that a bit creepy. Not with trans women, that doesn't bother me, because they're not safe sometimes to go into the men's loos, toilets, trans women. So if he had been trans, wouldn't have blipped on my radar. I'd sort of gone, oh well, you got to go, and you're trans. But a red-blooded, misogynistic male using the loos was a bit freaking confronting. But anyway, I wasn't upset about it. I was actually pleased that someone pulled him up on it, because it's not appropriate, Anywho, so there was that. But I had a wonderful time. I really had a wonderful time. And there was a nice, older, closer to my age group, Maori man that, had been watching me the last hour and a half or so of the evening. Must have come from another club. And he was watching me, courteously, respectfully from the distance. And then he gradually worked his way up to be at the table near where I'm dancing. He was looking at me. And he didn't do anything wrong. He was quite sweet, really, but I think gathering courage to, talk to me or flirt with me or something. I don't know. He might not have been. But anyway, I got weirded out about that, so I moved over and danced in front of Scott, who looked a bit uncomfortable, actually, because normally I dance on the opposite side. So, but I did that to get a little bit of space from the nice man that was looking at me with intent. Oh, and there was that was the other odd thing. When I first arrived at the club, there was a young Indian man, nice looking, but he kept staring at this. And then I'd sort of look away, because I'm dancing, and it was like detachable toe. He would just circle me, and he got closer and closer until he was right up in front of me and staring at me like, they don't realise how creepy it is when they look like that. But then I always think a cat can look at a canary, right? My mother raised me that way. In other words, grooming me to accept predatory behaviour, and which I don't accept. But anyway, I sort of thought, this guy's really keen on me. He's moved around, he's moved all the time looking over, really eager. Far too young, far too young. Good looking, but could be my son. I don't know what's wrong with men these days in our culture. It's become a bit warped. They're either, could be your son, or they're so inordinately weird and inept and creepy that it's actually off-putting. So anyway, I noticed the security guard was watching him because he could see he kept looking over at me, and I actually thought, oh, that's good, because if he gets weird, someone's actually watching. So as I say, I felt very nurtured and protected last night. Anyway, finally the young Indian man stands right in front of me and holds out his hand. And I thought, well, I'll be nice. It doesn't hurt to be nice unless he gets weird with me, right? So I did shake his hand, and he said, good evening, good evening. And then he looked at me with intent, but then he could see by my sort of cold good evening, and my handshake was very claw-like and not exactly welcoming. He got the message that I wasn't looking for a hookup kind of thing, and he moved away. But even when he moved away, he kept looking at me, and I thought, oh well, he's probably thinking, he's attracted to me on some level, and probably wondering why, in all his handsomeness, I wasn't interested. Well, that's the cards that get played, mate. Life is like that. You're not always interested. And there's nothing wrong with his looks or anything. It's just far too young for me, and I'm not interested. And if I'm interested, I let them know, usually. And it doesn't always work out for me either. 10 years of not working out for me. Oh, never mind, you have to laugh. It's more than 10 years that I haven't had luck in my love life anyway. It's gone on for decades. So here's the other interesting thing. I had a very vicious text from my daughter when I messaged her saying I'd like to see my younger daughter. This is not for the first time I've reached out, by the way, and said I want to see her. This is about the third attempt I've made in recent years. So I usually don't press the point because I get viciously, savagely attacked for it, so what's the point? But I thought, no, my health is feeling very fragile, and I think it's time that there was some effort made, some resolution, some closure, or some goodbye, simple courtesy of a goodbye to me before I shuffle off this mortal coil. So I get treated with absolute dishonour and disrespect and contempt and sadism. So I was very fucking distressed about that yesterday. Day before as well, but it hit me hard yesterday. Anyway, so but in the text, my elder daughter mentioned that her father, who I have been dreaming about for 3 months, not consistently for 3 months, but I've had, over the course of the last 3 months, I've had 3 very intense, weird dreams of him. And I myself got a little bit concerned. I mean, I don't care about the man. He was an absolute pig to me. I feel I'm completely indifferent. I don't have any feelings of either love or even hatred towards him. I just feel apathy and indifference. So it struck me as odd that I was dreaming of her father, of my ex-husband. Very odd, because we haven't had contact in decades. And, the last time I contacted him was to let him know my mother had died because they were good mates and colluded against me. And as a mark of courtesy and respect, I let him know she died. And he was so vicious about that and told my daughters if I contacted him again, he was going to go to the police and put a restraining order on. What? For telling him that his best mate, my evil mother, had died. This is how insane and borderline and sick he is. So anyway, as a consequence, I haven't ever bothered to make contact with him. I have no interest in the man. He's a pig. But for the last 3 months, I've had dreams of him. And I was going to ask my daughter, is your father sick or is he dying or something? It actually crossed my mind. Because when I dream of, people, friends or family members from the past, even ones that are estranged, or people I haven't seen in many, many years, I'll have certain kinds of dreams that I'll know that they've passed. And I know he hadn't passed because I would have been instructed by my daughter that he died, but I just thought it was odd, right? So the other day I posted it actually on Instagram. Well, I posted it on my Facebook, but it automatically went to Instagram and I let it stay on there because it's interesting. I'd had a cup of tea, and in the bottom of the cup, and it wasn't even loose tea leaves, it was a tea bag, that there must have been some residue coming off the tea bag. So in the bottom of my mug was an image of what absolutely looked like my ex-husband and my mother pressing their forehead together, giving each other what in the Maori culture is called a hongi, which is a mark of affection and of respect, So I saw this and literally my blood ran cold because I'm like, there they are, my two enemies, one dead and one still living, giving each other a hongi. And so I posted it up because I took it quite seriously, actually, as a message from the spirit world that apart from my own failing health, it's very likely that my ex-husband's not been well. And of course I wouldn't reach out to him and ask, because I couldn't actually care less. I don't wish him any harm, but I'm not exactly going to get terribly distraught if he drops dead, for example. I know that's awful, but after the damage he did to me for decades, why would I care, So interestingly, in the process of trying to find out if Jasmine, my younger daughter, is willing to come and see me at least once before I potentially die, which doesn't look like it's happening at the moment. I'm fighting the good fight. I feel a bit dreadful today, but that's because I jounced around with my failing organs for 3 hours when I was already tired. Like, I did well last night. I really did well. But anyway, so in the process of contacting Crystal to say I want to see Jasmine, Crystal mentioned in her text to me that her father nearly died a month or so ago. So, as my friend Lynn often says to me, she says to me, Tanya, you always get the end of the story. Always find out the end of the story at the end. Always. Quite astonishingly, the truth always comes out in the end of, interactions or soul contracts I've had with people. There is always some kind of closure. Exhibit A, when my former lover, David Davidson, died in May, but he haunted me 3 weeks later in early June 2016, right? I didn't know he died. I didn't know who it was. But the spirit was running up my steps and pounding on my front door. And I subsequently found out that he had died. So I know now that I have such powerful love bonds with certain people, and when they go, they have this spiritual soul connection. I don't know what you call it, like a spiritual cord or attachment, which usually I have put great effort into cutting. I think I cut cords to Davidson several times subsequent to our breakup, and I very, very well cut the cords to Michael Aaron's. But they seem to want closure with me. you know, they seem to want closure with me, spiritually speaking, even if they're not conscious of it. Because as I said, I haven't had any communication with my ex-husband, nor would I want to. So discovering that he actually did nearly die a month or so ago, at the same time as I was having, you know, very intense dreams of him, trauma dreams or stress dreams, I thought was very, very strange at the time, and now we know. My little short fat hobbit Jewish witch shaman spirit, my soul, was right again. So I messaged her and I said, I was quite nasty to her actually, because I feel incredibly let down by her, knowing how fragile my health is now. I actually said to her that she needs to be cognizant that since I'm dreaming of her father, and he even showed up in the bottom of my mug, giving her grandmother, my mother, a hongi, I said, you can better gird your loins and prepare for yourself that your father's death might be imminent too, or at very least his health is fragile also. Because me having those dreams is not an accident and not a coincidence. And as I say, I don't wish him dead, but I'm conscious that he's 69, just turned 69, and she admitted that his health's been poor. So it wouldn't hurt her to be kind to her now senior aging parents who are not well, would it? But I guess we can't rely on that. I'm just going to have to accept that I'm, apart from my true dear friends, my little birdie, and my beautiful psychiatrist who's fighting for me to see a specialist. Apart from those three or 4 or 5 or however people support me, I do have a lot of wonderful support from my Facebook and you know, some YouTube friends. Apart from those beautiful souls, I'm in this aging last phase of my life alone, and I'm okay with that. I've been alone for 29 years since I left it's almost 29 years since I left my ex-husband, and we've navigated life alone, and it wasn't easy. It was very touch and go many, many, many times, especially with 2 young children in tow. But we made it, Charlie. We've made it this long. Yes, she says, I can see myself in the camera, and I'm trying to figure out who that birdie is. It's you, Charlie. Look, Mama, Charlie, Mama. Hello. Does it ever make you wonder, Charlie, what you see, what other people see when they see you? You wouldn't have that gnosis. You wouldn't have the intellectual capacity to wonder what it is like to be seen by another entity. I love you. But when the birdies come to visit you, you know that you're being seen by other birdies. It's not quite the same as watching yourself, though, in a giant black screen mirror, like a scrying mirror. Shall we tell your fortune, Charlie? Charlie is a beautiful birdie. She's going to live long and prosper. And by the grace of the gods and a very stubborn psychiatrist, so is Mama going to live long and prosper. And when the day comes that we no longer live long and prosper, we're going to be happy ever after anyway, because we're stubborn witches. I love you. I love you, Charlie. We're the stubborn ones. We're defiant. We're the Boadicea Biddies. It could be a rock band name, the Boadicea Babes. Someone should make a rock band in my memory when I'm gone and play hard rock and maybe a bit of Björkian opera as an ode to my screaming Mimi days. And sing and dance wildly and make a great success of themselves and be rich and famous. She says, that's not all what life is about, Mama. It's about being with your birdie and choosing life. Why do you keep licking your tongue? What have you chewed on? You're doing a lot of this lolling your tongue, Charlie. Why are you lolling your tongue? What about this? She doesn't like it when I do that. Sometimes she does. You're the only one that gets that extra special treatment, Charlie. Just saying. That's my cheeky sense of humour coming out. I love you. All right, on that beautiful note, I've had a wonderful day yesterday. I made my snake bracelet, remade it, resoldered all the jump rings. That took me 5 hours because when I pickled it, it got copper plated, so I had to spend hours and hours and hours polishing it all off. And then in the process of polishing it all off, I discovered that one of the jump rings hadn't soldered. So then I had to go back and solder it in, which is like not a hard job, but for some reason that jump ring didn't work. Actually, it disappeared. I dropped it somewhere on the floor. I still haven't found it. It just vanished into the ether. So then there was a lot of grinding of gears and gnashing of teeth. Don't poo on me, Charlie. So I had to go and make another jump ring. And then I had trouble soldering that too. There's always one thing that's just obstreperous and not working out right and stubborn to do its own thing and not comply and be defiant and won't form its newly formed state. Sounds a bit like me, doesn't it? And so anyway, we had this massive fight with this jump ring. I did. And Finally, I had success, got it to solder, and I was so happy. But then I had to spend more hours polishing it all up, getting rid of... I didn't copper plate that one because I didn't put it back in the pickle. But I had to spend more hours and hours, cleaning it up. This took all day, people. Like yesterday, I was on some kind of weird spiritual journey. But I was so very relieved and happy after my doctor ringing me with the news that he's got me booked in to see a urologist. I thought, see, life finds a way and people who love me are fighting for me daily. So who am I to fly in the face of all that love, honour, integrity and respect for me as a woman and as a spirit? Who am I? So I need to soldier on and keep going as though I have another 100 years of life ahead of me. And who knows? Well, I won't have 100 years. That's ridiculous. But, who knows? I might surprise myself as I have done before. dozens and dozens of times. So, but I did go into a full-blown death spiral earlier this week because I have been very, very ill. Seriously, very quite ill. But here we go again. Round and round and round. So I'm very proud of that bracelet because I wore it out last night and excited that I had finally made it unbreakable. The only thing is I might have to take some jump rings out because it's a little bit loose on me now. But then on the other hand, I sort of like it a little bit loose because I don't know, I might leave it as it is, but halfway through the evening dancing, I noticed it was sort of hanging and I had to keep turning it around. She just flew. Why did you fly, Charlie? I'm going to have to clip those wings if you're going to start flying. What scared you, Charlie? There's nothing there. There's no crows. There's no albatrosses. There might be a dibbock on the roof though. No dibbocks allowed, Charlie. No dibbocks. Dibbock free zone. Dickhead free zone. Anyway, where was I? Oh yes, so anyway. So I'm delighted to report that bracelet that I worked so very hard on yesterday, excuse me, so extremely hard on, I was determined to have it perfect because we are going to re-innovate myself and we are going to strive for as close to perfection as we can get. You know, it's a work in progress and nothing is ever truly perfect. In fact, in my religion, it's meant to be part of the design that should always be a tiny flaw because it's symbolic of life not always being perfect. But anyway, I'm a bit of a perfectionist, to be honest. When I get obsessed with something being right, it's got to be right. But anyway, so I'm very happy to report that I wore that bracelet out all night, and although it spun around a bit on my wrist because it's a little bit loose, none of the bits fell off, unlike my earring. Earring, Charlie? It's a Viking ship. The Vikings conquered. They were the... Oh, don't bite, is it? They were the conquerors of the Norse gods, Charlie. You don't know anything about the Norse gods because you're an Australian bird. You come from Australia. Australia. She's looking at me like, what? I don't know. What's Australia? You're the psychedelic rainbow lorikeet bird from Australia. Do you whistle in an Australian accent, Charlie? Can you sing the theme tune? Can you whistle the theme tune? Hey? Can you? You gonna sing a song? Really? Waltzing Australia. No, that's not Waltzing Australia. Oh, I'm right off my head, aren't I? Waltzing Matilda, waltzing Matilda. You come a waltzing Matilda with me. And he sang as he camped and something by his billabong. And he sang as he... Oh, see, I lose the words. I've always been really weird about singing. It's because I was told I couldn't sing as a child. It's a trauma response. Literally the words just dissipate. Halfway through a song, I can watch them just disappearing into the ether, blowing away. Because the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind. How many true loves must Mama T reject till finally the right man comes along. How many dickheads must fall off the roof till all of the grief is gone? How many ex-husbands must I have nightmares of till finally one of us dies? Sorry, I can't help myself. It's a bit funny though when you think about it. How many ghosts of ex-lovers must bang on my door, and how many of them might cry when I die? There'll be quite a few going, fuck, I never thought she was actually gonna go. I thought I still had time to make sweet love to that bitch, and now she's gone. What am I gonna do? I can actually see them falling apart at the seams because they're so used to me being so stubborn and recalcitrant and stoic and ornery and bloody minded. They really won't know what to think, will they? But anyway, I'm enjoying my life with my memories of wild nights of passion and one night stands that ended up being hell loops for 10 years. That was a bit weird. But anyway, I guess I'll probably never get closure with my daughter Jasmine because my daughter Crystal simply won't allow it. And I guess I have to be prosaic and laugh about it now, although it's a bit cruel. It's a bit cruel how I'm treated. It's just not cricket, Charlie. She goes, don't worry, Mummy, we'll sing a song. Sing a song, a sixpence, a pocket full of rye. She goes, no, Mummy, that song ends badly for all the birdies. All right, we're not going to sing that song. We've got to finish on a happy note for the people of YouTube. What's the happy note? What's the happy song? I know. You are my sunshine, my only sunshine. You make me happy when skies are grey. I'll always love you, and I forgot the fucking words again. And that, my friends, is okay. Love you all, bye.